Hey guys! In today's video, I'm going to be talking about how I write the supporting information in assistant psychologist jobs. I know I, for one, struggle a lot with that part of the application, and I bet a lot of you guys do. So hopefully by the end of this video, you guys will have a better idea of where to start, what structure to follow, what you must include, what isn't as important, and some tips in general. So if you're interested, just keep on watching. The first thing that I do when I apply to those elusive assistant psychologist jobs is that I have a look at the person specification and job description, and I just sort of scan through to get a feel of what the position is and if I meet their general criteria. And if I don't meet most of the criteria, I don't apply because they really care about the essential criteria. It's not something that you can just sort of wing. You really have to meet the essential criteria and then hopefully all of the desirable criteria. This is how you're really gonna stand out. So if I don't meet it, like if I don't have the qualifications or the experience, I do not apply because it would be a waste of time for both me and the recruiters. So look at the person specification and job description, scan through it. What I like to do is to print it and get excited. Like I read all the bullet points and I start to think, oh yeah, like I could see myself doing that one I have done before. Try to get a feel of what it would be like to work there. And this is really going to put you in a good mindset for the rest of the process. And then when I arrive to the personal specifications, this is where I just pick a highlighter and highlight one by one kind of the key words that appear, the ones that I know are going to matter. So if, for example, one of the criteria is ability to communicate effectively in settings where the atmosphere may be highly emotive, I highlight communication, highly emotive, and then I sort of think, what does that mean? What are they trying to get me to show? But I will talk about that later. So for each bullet point, I stop and I think, do I meet this? How do I meet this? Where did I learn it? How can I best evidence that I meet this? Do I have specific examples? Do I have proof? Do I have achievements? How can I best evidence that I meet this criteria instead of just stating that I do have it? And then just as a general sort of putting it in context, I think about why are they asking me to have this skill in this job? If it's about, like I said before, having the ability to communicate in highly emotive settings, it might be because you're going to be asked to talk to carers or maybe patients themselves about their condition. So this is why they want you to be able to communicate in those settings. So then if I can think of an experience that I've had that is similar to that, then I can more closely match what they're asking of me. It's not really guessing, but it's kind of putting yourself in the employer's shoes. Why do they want you to have that skill? And so you can best prove that you have it. So now comes a really hard part, and it is the first draft. Now that one can take a while or not, depending on how you go about it. I personally just like to get words on paper. No matter what words or where, I just try to get something on paper, or else I suffer from the, blank page syndrome. I get on my computer and just start writing my sort of personal statements. And I keep in mind, obviously, the bullet points. So I try to group the ones that go together. So for example, if it talks about having a degree that confers GBC for the BPS, and it talks about ideally having like research experience, then I can talk about my degree in that paragraph, which will kind of meet both criteria already. And if it also mentions problem solving skills or organizational skills, I can also briefly mention that in the uni experience, which will meet already 3 bullet point criteria. Does that make sense? So I try to group some of the criteria together and try to write paragraphs that address those groups. So that's my first draft, and it's not good, it's not perfect by any means, but it just gets it on paper. So you can either write it by theme like I do, or another way that you could go about it is to do it chronologically, which I don't really know which method is better. I just think it's easier for me to do it by theme. But chronologically, you could sort of write at first, like your uni experience or college or anything before that if you want, and then you talk about what you did at uni, if you did any extracurriculars, or you can talk about what you did at your job or any jobs or volunteering after that, etc., etc. Usually if you apply for those jobs, you are just straight out of uni, so you probably don't have that much, but you could sort of write it in that chronological order if it makes more sense to you. Just make sure that it makes sense to whoever is reading it. Try to present a coherent story and not just bullet points. So again, either by theme or chronologically, have it make sense. Now, at this time, I take a break because I'm really tired and it takes a lot of me to get to that stage. So far what you have is a rough draft of meeting the criteria, meeting the bullet points. It's either sorted by theme or by chronological order. So you take a break and then I come back with a fresh set of eyes and try to rectify anything that doesn't make sense. Maybe I thought at some point, oh, you know what, that bullet point should go in the other theme. So I like reorganize stuff around and move chunks of text. I really try to make sure that I explicitly address the criteria. This is not a guessing game. The recruiters, they don't know you. They cannot guess what you did if you don't tell them. So you really have to address everything that they say in explicit words. Ideally, use their own words as well. Like, don't try to use too many synonyms. Try to just explicitly say, here's what you asked of me, I meet it, and here's an example, or here's how I learned it. And you do that for every single bullet point. You usually don't have a lot of words at your disposition to try and do that, so it is a really difficult exercise. But focus on the essential criteria. And you know the one where it's like having a degree? You don't need to spend too many words on that. Just state, I have my degree, and it confers GBC. But for the other ones, which is like ability to form good relationships with staff, carers, and everyone, maybe spend a bit more time on that, because there's definitely more scope to be spent on those questions. If there is one thing to remember from this video is literally address all of the criteria. Just say everything explicitly. The way that they go and select and shortlist participants is really just by going through your application and then they tick the box. Do you meet the criteria, yes or no? And if you don't meet all the essential, they don't take you. And if there's a lot of people that meet the essential, then they go and base their decision on the desirable criteria, which is why it also is beneficial for you to address that. But if you don't meet the essential, you will not get shortlisted. That is a fact. Okay, so now that you've got all of those bullet points on paper and you've addressed all the criteria, this is where you can try and make your personality shine a little bit. I know it's hard, and it is also very difficult not to become too cliche. You know, don't say stuff like, I have always wanted to be a clinical psychologist. That doesn't really mean anything to them or to anyone. But what I try to do, for example, my personal passions, you know, it would be creativity, report writing, data analysis. Like, I really like that kind of aspect, so I always try to show a lot of passion and enthusiasm towards that side of the job. I also like the clinical aspect of it, of course, but I really like that part a lot. So I try to show them that that's the kind of person I would be, and they can already hopefully tell what my personality is from that kind of statement. So if there's something that you are passionate about, try to definitely let that shine through the application, again, in as little words as possible, because you don't have that many to start with. Now, another tip that is very important, and I know you're gonna roll your eyes, don't just recycle older statements. That is one of the biggest mistakes ever. You think it will make you gain some time, but it's not great. They will know immediately if it hasn't been tailored to their application, that's for sure. But also, I know there's a lot of different assistant psychologist jobs, but they are all different and they all have a different set of duties, and therefore they all have a different set of essential criteria. So a statement that you wrote for one position may be a lot similar to one that you would write for a different position, and there would be maybe 80% overlap, but there are some bullet points that will not have been in the first one that you need to address in the second one. And on the other hand, there will be some criteria that you addressed in your statement that are no longer relevant, so you just wasted a lot of words. So you really do need to write a new one every time. Now, I know it's difficult. It takes a lot of effort and time is of the essence, because those kind of jobs, sometimes they get closed after a week or a few days. So you really have to make it a routine to go on the NHS website and you look at what new jobs have been posted, and if you see one that's been posted in the last couple of days or today, make a point of working on that statement at night, and then in the next few days you just perfect it and then you submit it. You don't have time to waste, so you really have to get working on the statements as fast as you can, as best as you can. What you can do, and I have done in the past, is sometimes you can copy and paste and recycle little chunks of the personal statement. If you're really proud of one of the really generic statements or sentences, maybe you can keep that. But I wouldn't copy and paste more than 1 or 2 sentences like in a row, for sure. And also another reason why you shouldn't recycle statements as they are, is that you improve every time that you write something new, and just as time passes anyway, you do improve. So why limit yourself to something that you wrote 2 months ago if you could write something better now? So do the exercise, keep writing new statements, your writing style will improve. If you haven't been successful with previous statements, then why keep them? Try to always improve and change it until you have sort of a winning combination. One of the biggest mistakes that I made one time was recycling a statement, and I accidentally, even when I proofread, I missed that. I applied to a position to work with older adults, but I had accidentally said in my sort of first paragraph, I am very excited to work with women in the forensic justice system. I have a passion for working with inmates. And it's like, that is ridiculous. They didn't even give me the time of the day. I obviously didn't get an interview for that one because it shows blatant disrespect for me to not even have written a new statement. So don't make the same mistake that I did. Always reread your statements and do not say that you're excited about working with the population if it is not the population you're going to be working with. Biggest mistake. Okay, so at this point, what we have is we have a bit of your personality showing through, an organized statement, sort of paragraph by paragraph, that paints a picture of the skills you have and how they closely align with the essential criteria for the position. At this point, I have way too many words. And this is where the sort of second hardest part comes in, and it is to condense and remove words and make it into a shorter statement. I struggle with that a lot. Every word that I write, I cherish it, and I say to myself, I cannot take it away. I wanted it to be there. But I try to remove some of the adverbs because some of them are useless. I really try to think about, how does that one sentence address the criteria? Is this really useful? Does this need to be said in that particular thing? Is it something that maybe I could talk about in the interview if I get one? Is it something that is relevant to the current position and not just a general assistant psychologist position? So you really have to be selective. I have discovered a tip, and ever since I found this out, I've been using it a lot. So I have a block of text that is just like black text, and then every time I mention the criteria, I make it stand out, so that when I'm trying to shorten my statement and delete some chunks, I know what not to delete right away because it stands out. So I don't know if that makes sense, but basically you don't want to make the mistake of removing a chunk of text that actually was crucial for the position. And also it kind of helps visually because you have 3 paragraphs or 4, and you see, for example, in paragraph 1, there's 2 highlighted bits of text, and in paragraph 2, there's 3. So maybe the first paragraph is one where you can remove a little bit more words, whereas paragraph 2 is more packed with information. So this takes a lot of time, and it's really tiring, and I hate it, and I hate my life when I do it. Oh, but there we are, finally, the final draft. So you proofread it. Ideally, you get a fresh set of eyes. So again, take a break, distance yourself from it. Get someone else to help you. So maybe a friend, a parent, a partner, for them to read it. Does it make sense? If you have a really good friend, you can also show them the essential criteria, and then they can tell you whether you meet it or not. But yeah, proofread it. Make sure that you address all the criteria, that you didn't recycle anything, that you're mentioning the population you're going to be working with. That is another tip. Mention who you're going to be working for and with. So mention sort of the NHS board that you're going to be at, or if you know the hospital that is going to be based on, write about how excited you are to work at that hospital and how excited you are to work with whatever population it is. This is one of the biggest mistakes that you can make, is to just have a generic statement. You have to show passion for the actual purpose of the organization. Make sure that the word count is okay. Make sure you don't have too many words or too little. That is really rare. Normally, you really need every single one of the words that they allow you to have. So don't write less, unless you're really good at this. The main question to ask yourself when you're doing that sort of final read through is, does it make sense? Would I hire myself? Did I get my message across? The point is, give me an interview. Hire me, but you have to back that up with why they should do so. And then here you have it, you can submit it, you're done. If it's an NHS position, you also have to write why you want to work for the NHS, but I'm not going to talk about that in the current video. But yeah, just focus your efforts on the first personal statement. This is what is going to make it or break it. This is the most important part of the application. So hopefully now that this video is over, you have a better idea of how to write this personal statement and it is less daunting, and you know the sort of steps that you do. I just always use this technique and structure. It helps me to know what the steps are. So yeah, first draft, get everything on paper, meet the criteria. Then second steps, group the stuff that makes sense together, either by theme or chronologically. Have like a red thread basically going through the application. Then take a break, then you come back, try to make your personality shine through and reorganize some of the stuff. Step 4, shorten it and delete some words because you probably are over the word count at this point. And then final step is to proofread, maybe get a fresh set of eyes from someone else, try to get some advice if you can show it to people, and then submit. And again, biggest tips, explicitly address all of the criteria and don't recycle an old statement because that could work against you. So I hope you enjoyed this video. I hope that you learned something, but let me know in the comments down below if there's another video you would like me to make, or if there's anything that you are unsure about or you need some help with. If you like this video, please like it and subscribe. That will really motivate me to make more, and we can just all help each other out by creating this sort of community of aspiring clinical psychologists. I wish you all the luck in finding this job. I know it's hard, but we can do it. I hope you follow my tips. I hope they help you. But I'll see you all next time.